The person who I have chosen to do my assignment on is architect and designer George Nelson. George Nelson was born in Hartford, Connecticut in 1908. He joined Yale University in 1924 but was unsure of what path he should take, until one day he sought shelter from a storm in Yale's architecture school and was transfixed by what the students were doing and found his calling to be an architect. George graduated in 1928 with a Bachelor's of Art. He then went on to receive a Bachelor of Fine Arts in 1931. A year later, he ran for and won the Rome Prize, which secured him 2 years at the American Academy in Rome. During his time in Rome, he traveled around Europe to meet and interview Le Corbusier, Mies van der Rohe, Walter Gropius, and Gio Ponti, who are all pioneers in modernism. These interviews went on to be published in the US for a magazine called Pencil Points. This started George Nelson's career in writing. In 1935, when he returned back to the US, he was working as an editorial staff writer for Architectural Forum, where he wrote about household design and interior design. A year later, he partnered up with William Hamby to run their own architecture firm. One of their works included the Sherman Fairchild House located in New York. The firm closed when the United States entered the war. During the war, Nelson went to teach architecture at Columbia University. In 1945, he wrote the book Tomorrow's House with Henry Wright. The book introduced new ideas about the common household, including a family room, and his most inventive being the storage wall. Nelson came about the idea of the storage wall while sitting in his office staring at the wall, daydreaming about how thick the walls were, until he started thinking about what was behind the walls, and then realized that there was nothing but air behind the walls. And that was the moment he executed an idea that revolutionized the design world. Nelson's storage wall idea caught the attention of D.J. Dupree, founder of Herman Miller, who was looking for a new chief designer for the company. George Nelson took the offer to be a designer at Herman Miller, where he spent most of his career in redesigning everything from the product line, graphics, marketing, and advertising. Nelson went on to recruit designers including Charles and Ray Eames, Alexander Girard, and Imasu Noguchi. Some of George Nelson's most celebrated works include the platform bench, which he developed by himself for his office while working at Fortune magazine, Marshmallow Sofa, 1755 Bell Clock, which was designed for Howard Miller clocks. The clock is unique in the way that the balls represent the numbers, the swag-legged home desk, and the coconut chair. All products were based on his idea that total design is nothing more or less than a process of relating everything to everything. Nelson's design work didn't just stay with Herman Miller. Nelson formed his own studio known as George Nelson and Associates and had a staff of talented designers. Some of the studio's clients included doing interiors for Kellogg's, CBS, General Electric, and McDonald's, and also doing graphic design work for Abbott, American Express, Gulf Oil, Ford, Haynes, BP, and Reuters. Nelson's studio was also commissioned to create pavilions for the World's Fair exhibition in New York. The most notable exhibition was when Nelson was asked to be the lead designer for the American National Exhibition in Moscow, Russia. George Nelson played a huge role in introducing modernism to America. One of Nelson's products, the mobile table, was featured at MoMA's What Was Good Design, an installation that showcased the ethics of good design. Dieter Rams introduced his principles for good design in the 1970s. Nelson's mobile table stood by these principles. Nelson's mobile table was useful as it was functional for having wheels at the bottom, giving it the freedom of movement. Not only can you place objects on top of the table, there is plenty of space on the shelf below the table to hold objects. The table is also understandable. It knows what it is, and the wheels make it self-explanatory. It's unobtrusive, its neutral design hides in place with everything else and lets the individual decide what it wants to do with it. It's honest in the way that it doesn't mislead the individual, it shows itself for what it really is. The table has a simplistic and minimalist form. It has an iron frame cube and two plastic tables on top and bottom of the table. This shows that it has as little design as possible, but it concentrates on being what it is. What I've learned from George Nelson is that design isn't all about looking good and what trend is in style, but rather a discipline that design is a thought process focusing on function and how to fulfill people's needs through design. In future projects, I would consider following these practices as I believe it is important that an object's functions hold more or equal value to aesthetic significance.